Star Wars Episode 4: A New Hope was released on May 25th, 1977. At the time, it was just called Star Wars. The moviegoers never saw the title A New Hope in the crawl. The posters, the merchandising, everything simply said Star Wars. And no, I'm not one of the people who stomps their feet screaming, "It's called Star Wars, not A New Hope." It became a trilogy. It only made sense to tack on an additional name to the title. The inclusion of Episode 4 and A New Hope secured the franchise for more. Full disclosure, A New Hope is my favorite Star Wars movie. So, will people say that this is biased? Yep, whatever. Everybody has a favorite. You like what you like, and you recognize when something is good, and you recognize when something impacts you. I absolutely love A New Hope. It's beautiful in its simplicity. Save the princess, beat the bad guys. When I think Star Wars, I think A New Hope. I think of the grit in the cantina, the cocksure attitude of Mr. Space Pirate Han Solo, the youthful enthusiasm of Luke Skywalker, and the go-get-em mentality of Princess Leia. It is fast. It is fun. It has heart, it has humor, it has tension and mystery, and changed how movies are made. The opening shot is so brilliant. Using nothing but visuals, the audience was shown what the movie was all about. Big oppressive empire, an underdog rebellion. The beginning sequence of Vader boarding the rebel ship and the blaster fight between the troops, you really get a sense of the towering power of the empire. And that sense is amplified to a peak by the John Williams score. Without that score, man, I don't know if Star Wars would have ever became a thing. Really. John Williams might be the biggest key to the success of Star Wars. Imagine if they used some 70s style sci-fi beeps and boops, zips and buzzes as the music. So many movies around that time had really abstract, out there scores. I mean, some of it was good, some of it fit with what the movies were going for, but Star Wars brought a romance to the soundtrack. Something that just hit you emotionally. Without that score, the life of Star Wars might have been short-lived. One of my favorite things about A New Hope is the mystery. Who and what are these robots? Who is this woman recording a message? Who is this Obi-Wan Kenobi? What are Jedi? Darth Vader? Death Star? The movie does such a great job posing questions to the audience that end up being answered through the course of the story. My favorite shot in the entire Star Wars saga can be found in A New Hope. It is this. Luke Skywalker gazing out at the twin suns on Tatooine. It is so powerful. The music ramps up. I've always viewed this scene as the turning point. The moment where Luke realizes that he wants to take control of his own destiny. He wants to leave this life behind, search for something greater, discover more about himself. It's a scene and a moment that we can all relate to. Questioning what we're doing and trying to decide what to do. For me, this is the most powerful and beautiful scene in all of Star Wars. Two sons, two paths, stay home or fulfill your sense of adventure. The relationship between R2-D2 and C-3PO is brilliant. They are just so enjoyable to watch. They're fun to see interact with one another. They have a chemistry that resembles the chemistry of human beings. Having 3PO interpret R2-D2's dialogue for the audience, I will never get over how smart of a decision that was. It puts a unique spin on things. If the two droids were just talking to one another, it wouldn't have had the same impact. Same thing goes for Chewbacca and Han Solo. Han interpreting Chewie's grunts and groans to the audience. It makes events in the movie seem bigger. It gives life and diversity to the Star Wars universe. 3PO being a protocol droid and interpreting dialogue from all different types of creatures, man, it puts a spin on how dialogue is written and how stories are told. It also makes the characters of R2 and Chewbacca, I think, more enjoyable. You have more compassion for them. It's like the relationship between you and your pet. And I'm not calling Chewbacca and R2 a pet, but not being able to understand or communicate with an animal in the real world really gives us the phrase unconditional love. If your dog or cat could speak your language and you could understand one another perfectly, they'd probably get pretty annoying pretty fast. But not being able to understand them creates a unique bond, a unique type of compassion, a different type of empathy, a bond that breaks the boundaries of language. And the decision to not have Chewbacca and R2 speak basic, I think makes the audience care about these characters even more. They're truly underdogs in a galaxy where the Empire is trying to force conformity. It's a brilliant decision that George Lucas had. The visual effects, they hold up. The sets, they hold up. They're real, from the Jawa yard sale to the Lars homestead, to Mos Eisley to the cantina, to the Death Star and the Rebel hangar. Everything feels like it actually exists, because it does. It feels like these places have a life to them, that they're lived in and used. Not just foreground events or characters, but things happening in the background make every scene have a vibrancy to them. The cantina is where the bread and butter of creativity is held. Creatures from all walks of life. A spaceport where smugglers and pilots could kick up their feet, have a drink, and take a rest in between jobs. It's like a truck stop. People coming from all different directions, converging on this one point to take a breather. I love the cantina so much. There's a reason why it's one of the most iconic things in movie history. The dichotomy of characters in A New Hope is what makes Star Wars great. The characters. You have Luke Skywalker, a farm boy who is wide-eyed and youthful, innocent yet courageous. Obi-Wan Kenobi, a wise old man, a space wizard, someone who has an enlightened perspective and tries to convey it to others. Princess Leia, a leader, someone who believes in self-sacrifice for the greater good, someone who knows what must be done. Han Solo, a selfish and cocky man, whose only want and desire is wealth, riches, and to only look after himself. The dichotomy of our heroes. It's what makes this movie so enjoyable. The idea of four very different people realizing that they're not so different after all, realizing that they ultimately want the same thing, realizing that if they work together, they can accomplish it. It's not the most groundbreaking idea, right? I mean, plenty of other movies have this same formula. It's character writing 101. But A New Hope pulled it off in a unique way, making a science fiction fantasy movie that should feel super strange and odd, but it makes it relatable. It keeps it grounded. You feel like you know these characters. They're believable people. Darth Vader is a fantastic bad guy. We learn a lot about his character. He's on screen, he has a ton of dialogue, has a menacing persona, and seems to be a cog in a larger machine. His officers don't flat out respect him, they often talk back to him, poke fun at his belief in the Force. I love this. He's not the tip top of the food chain, he's a right-hand man, the muscle, the guy who gets shit done for the higher-ups. He even goes into battle, boards the rebel ship, and hops in a tie to help repel the assault against the Death Star. No, they weren't signed on for more than one movie. Lucas didn't know if there would actually be a movie trilogy made. So thankfully, thankfully, Darth Vader didn't die at the end of A New Hope. I mean, that could have easily happened, right? The conclusion of most stories is for the bad guy to be killed. So man, oh man, did they do the right thing by not having Vader kick the bucket. It was a great thing for him to stay alive and be the main adversary through the trilogy. Like I said earlier, the movie is beautiful in its simplicity. There's mystery, there's wonder, but at the same time, there's a solid goal and a linear path. And it's charming. It starts out with a problem to solve, and by the end, our characters have solved the problem they set out to settle. Because of all of this, A New Hope is my favorite Star Wars film. Probably my favorite film, period. It's hard for me to say anything negative about it, and not because it holds such a deep place in my heart, not because, as people will say, I'm just bathing in nostalgia, but because negative things are hard to find. The only negative things that I can mention from the movie were added into the movie in the special edition. Regardless of that, which I've mentioned here 100 times before, the story is just so compelling. The action is so fast and fun. Watching the characters evolve is a blast to witness. But overall, I mean, it's just fun. It's a really fun movie. There's a build-up, like a symphony. We start slow and end with a bang. And what really gives me hope for The Force Awakens to be kick-ass is that A New Hope is also J.J. Abrams' favorite Star Wars movie. So there you go. Fast and fun.
Always with you, it cannot be done.